Gallery view then from your end?
Yeah, it's in gallery view. In
Okay.
my, yeah.
Because last time when we get the recorded session, it just appears like one screen after the other. So
Oh, oh, like the person talking.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah, I mean yeah. Just
I
so just
I
keep that.
saw. Oh, there he goes. There goes brother Wilcox. Can you hear
There
us?
we go. Yes. Hey Daniel, how are you?
I'm awesome, guys. How are you guys?
Good.
Good, good.
Good.
Thanks for joining us on the talk today.
Man, thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it, guys.
Of course, no problem. Just in case, I sent you an email earlier, but I'm Jad Evangelo. I'm the program manager of the Growth Initiative. I sent you an email earlier. Eddie put us in contact with you, Kenny, and I regarding the talk tonight. So,
Mhm.
yeah, just to give you a little bit of background about, the program. These wonderful men and women you see in front of you are all media enthusiasts. Some of them, or maybe a lot of them, have lost their internships or their work due to COVID-19 for the summer. So we decided to do this program as a free initiative for 8 weeks to, engage them in media, advertising, and marketing work and inspire them through different disciplines, and let them work with real life nonprofit clients so they can be ready and geared up, for what's ahead in a post COVID-19 world in this industry. So we figured it would be great to have you on the talk so you can share with us a little bit about your experience that has a little bit of a fresh take, a little bit like maybe non-media related, but more,
Mhm.
we have a lot of students here who are like sports fanatics. Aaron is one of them. I know a lot of people, are into sports management or like, how does that work right now given everything that's going on? So yeah.
Well, Angelo, I appreciate it. First of all, you and Kenny, man, I appreciate you guys having me on. Guys, I don't know if you guys know me or not, but I'm Daniel Wilcox. I'm a retired NFL vet. Played about 9 years for the Baltimore Ravens, the Jets, and the Bucks. I'm now back home in Atlanta, Georgia, and I've started my own company. I've also mentored young men as well. I started a company building houses here in Atlanta, Georgia. I build custom homes. I like to do custom things. I'm actually in one of my custom homes right now. This is one of my Airbnb projects. So the COVID-19 thing hasn't affected my company at all. So for you guys that COVID has affected, I really, really, really feel bad for you guys. And I'm praying that you guys get back on your feet as quick as possible. Mentally, approach everything the way you approach anything. So how you do anything is how you do everything. So I don't care if you're sweeping up the floor, if you're making your bed, you take trash, you do it better than anybody's ever done it before, and eventually you're gonna be on top. I don't know how to do anything small. All right, I'm not meant to be on the bottom of anything. I don't care if I start anything entry level. I'm working my way all the way to the top. Okay, so always focus on trying to be the best version of you can be. Everybody's not meant and built to be a leader. I want to be a leader in everything I do. I preach that to my sons. I have two boys, a 15-year-old and a 10-year-old, and I'm super excited always to be daddy. Always excited to try to mentor those two young men. And I have about another 300, 400, 500 young men that I mentor that actually play in the NFL and play college football as well. And then I got some young ladies in there too. I see Cameron looking at me like, yeah, what's up? But I mentor a bunch of young women as well. My wife is extremely talented young lady as well. She's in television production and media world. And when I retired from the NFL, I literally thought I was going to be in broadcasting. So I actually went to school for advertising and communications. So I thought I was going to be a broadcast guy. I had my own television show in Baltimore, my own radio show in Baltimore, and I prepped for that in life. And then, life happens. I had a son, and he was back here in Atlanta, and I wanted to come home and be a dad. So I left Baltimore where I had all my roots and all my network and everybody that actually knew me and where I was actually celebrity, Baltimore, and I came back home to Atlanta to be a dad. Next thing you know, I'm scraping, man. I'm at the bottom of the barrel. Nobody knows me anymore. I've been gone for 15, 16 years playing football, college and pro. And I had to get it out the mud. You know what I mean? Like all over again. And I try to express to people, because I'm going to say this real quick before you guys start asking questions, because I try to express to people all the time, especially young men, when you play a sport and then you get to that next level and you get to the highest level of your game, you can equate that to anything in life. I don't care if I'm a doctor, a lawyer, if I'm a media guy. broadcasting. If I get to the epitome, to the highest point that you can possibly get into the thing that I've prepared my entire life to do, and then all of a sudden the switch gets turned off and you can't get a job in that area, you got to figure out what's next. All right. So right now, you guys are falling flat right now because of this thing, but that doesn't mean that defines you and that makes you who you are. You take full advantage of who you are, and then you go out here and you figure out what's next until you're able to get back to where you want to be. You know, I've been in various different angles throughout this retirement, and I'm still finding myself. I'm still learning myself. And I started one company, and now I have 6. You know, so you just figure out what you want to do, and next thing you know, somebody's gonna have to stop you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Daniel. That's pretty much wraps up, a little bit about like your story and like how you shifted and everything. And that actually makes me want to ask you a question like, what was the turning point in your career where you decided or you had the realization of like, I'm getting out of sports or getting out of like the athletic entertainment field, switching into like consulting and helping young kids, and also elaborate more on like what you're doing now. And if you can share a link
Okay.
of your company and the chat. But yeah,
Okay.
tell us a little bit about that turning point and what has come after that.
All right. First of all, Angelo, you're getting a little bit too advanced. You're talking about sharing links within the chat. I don't know anything. I don't know how to work with it. It's only like my 3rd or 4th Zoom meeting.
Let's take it step by step. Forget about the second question. Don't worry about the link. We'll figure that out later.
But that's a great question though, man. Like real talk, that's a great question. My 7th year in the league, I got injured. I hurt my foot, and I thought it was. They kept telling me it was turf toe. The doctor's diagnosis is turf toe. I don't know if you ever heard of turf toe or not before, or ever experienced it, but it hurts. It hurts really, really, really bad, and you don't realize how important your feet are until you can't use them. Okay, so when I developed so-called turf toe, I did what any other football player would do. I tried to play through it. I tried to fight through it. We're built to be mentally tough and to be mentally strong, so nothing is supposed to faze us. So I tried to fight through the turf toe, and it only got worse, and it only got worse, and it only got worse. Well, come to find out, I ended up like tearing ligaments, had cartilage damage. None of this stuff showed up on the MRI. Eventually I had to have surgery on my foot. And once I had surgery on my foot, that was kind of the beginning of the end for football for me, Angelo. So that's why I'm telling this story. So I had that surgery, and I came back after the surgery. It took me a whole off season to recover and rehab from the surgery. And I actually got back 1 week before the season started in 2008. So I practiced 1 week of preseason football, and then we went right into the first game. Okay, so going into the first game, I started all 16 games that year for the Ravens. And then I turned around, went all the way to the AFC Championship and lost to Pittsburgh in 2008, 2009. So my last game was that year. And that year, after I came back and played and we lost in the AFC Championship in Pittsburgh, I actually tore up my left shoulder, my labrum, and I tore up my left bicep tendon as well in my bicep. So everything on the left side of my body was kind of falling apart. I tore up my left ring finger. It don't even work no more. I can't even bend it, So I tore up my left hand, my left shoulder, my left bicep, and my left foot was still jacked up. And I tore my left hamstring that year, So it was, my body was just overcompensating for the injury that I had with my foot. It led me from 1 major surgery to about 5 major surgery in about a year and a half. After that, I decided I think God is trying to tell me something. Plus, I had a 4-year-old at the time, about to be 5, and I decided I would rather the doctor either you retire now or you won't be able to play with your kids later on in life. I planned on having at least 1 more kid, maybe 2. Now I have 2 boys now, so I guess I was planning right. I decided to pick my kids over sports. I made that my last game, and I retired, and got a couple more phone calls after that, and I kind of turned them down. My wife after I got her pregnant, now she's pregnant with my 2nd son, I decided to go back to school to finish up that communication and advertising degree. Okay. I felt like I could not have 2 boys on this earth and tell them to finish everything they do like daddy does if I didn't finish myself. So I needed to go back to finish. So I went back to college. I only had 1 semester left, only had 4 classes left. Went back, knocked out those 4 classes, graduated within a semester. Actually coached college football while I was there at Appalachian State. I went to Appalachian State, just in case you guys was wondering. So I coached college football there that season. I also had a team. TV show, you know, so I'm a multitasker. I always try to do multiple things, never kind of put all my eggs in one basket. And then I retired and came back home, and I had already started this company, you know, building houses. And I kind of fell into this. And I was always an architecture guy. When I first went to App State, I was an architect major. And I decided I didn't want to be an architect because I didn't want to be in school forever. And I just wanted to play football and focus on football. Architect was going to take up too much time. And since I had those 3 properties, I went ahead and started renovating those properties. And that got me started building houses and renovating houses. I was like, man, I actually like this, man. I kind of miss architecture. I had wood shop in high school and all that stuff, and kind of fell in love with power tools. And that love just started to kind of brew and grow again. And one thing I noticed, you know, when I retired and I started my own company, I noticed the guys that I had that was working for me was kind of like players. And I was kind of like a coach, you know, because I was teaching them the things that I had in my mind for them to develop, you know, at someone else's house, you know. So I started to say, hey, man, this is just like football. I'm just going to be the head coach, and they're just going to be my players, you know. When I was at App, they hired me to be the football receivers coach. So I was assistant receiver coach that year. And after I had came back and started my company for a year, all those guys that were seniors that had a chance to go to the NFL called me and said, hey, coach, we want to come to Atlanta with you. And I was like, I'm building houses. What do you guys want to come to Atlanta with me for? They was like, we want to come train with you for the NFL. I was like, dude, I don't have a training facility, but let me see what I can do. You know, so I called the guy that trained me, Chip Smith, here in Atlanta. And he decided, I asked Chip, will he train my guys and let me coach them? And he said, yes. So I sent him to Chip Smith, who's like world renowned as far as athletic training here in Atlanta. He's like the mega guy here, you know, for sports and NFL guys that train. Brian Urlacher trained with him, Champ Bailey, all the greats, you know. So Chip started training my guys, and I started coaching them. I started teaching them all about football, the books, the in and outs of the playbook, what on the field, what they expect off the field. I wanted them to understand that these are grown-ass men they're going to play with right now. These are not kids. You know, they all got families, they got wives, they got kids, and they got to feed all those people. So when you come in there, you're a threat to taking their job. They're not going to take you lightly. It's not like college or high school where you come in, they just kind of embrace you and, hey, buddy, man, welcome to the squad. You know, these guys looking at you like, hey, this guy's trying to take my check. These guys need ready to fend for themselves, and they need to go in not trying to make friends, but go in trying to learn the playbook and prepare themselves the best they possibly can. At the end of the day, you're trying to be a pro. You know, it don't matter what you do. Like I said, how you do anything is how you do everything. You want to be a pro. And whatever it is that you're doing, you want to be a pro. So that goes about how you carry yourself. You know, what time you get to work in the morning. If you're supposed to be there at 8 a.m. and you're getting there at 8 a.m. every morning, people, they don't like that, especially people with money. You know, the owner of my team is a billionaire, you know, so he's looking at you like, hey, man, can I hire this guy when he's done playing ball? Is this somebody that I want on my team? Is this somebody that I feel like will be a good leader for the rest of that group? You know, so everything you do, they look at what kind of car you drive, how you dress, you know, how you carry yourself, you know, how you speak to people, how you treat the people in the cafeteria, the people that's janitors in that place. They look at everything. You never know who somebody is. And I learned all this stuff playing. So when I retired, I carried that same mentality into my business. Okay, so all of a sudden I'm building houses. Now I'm training pro athletes and coaching pro athletes. And then Chip had a wide receivers coach that he was working with already when the guys decided to train him, when they decided to train with Chip. And that guy got a job with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And so when he got hired with the Jaguars, Chip asked me to take over all the receivers. So I came from having 4 or 5 guys from App State to having about 18 guys my first year coaching, you know, athletes. That led into Chip asking me to come back multiple years. You know, he was like, man, you're one of the best guys I've ever had coaching. I really would love to have you back. So he hired me a year for combine season. Built houses all year, and then when combine season came around, I started training pro athletes and coaching pro athletes. That first year came with 17, 18 guys. That next year, I ended up having receivers, the tight ends, the running backs, and the quarterbacks. One of those quarterbacks was Colin Kaepernick. The other one was Tyrod Taylor. You know, so I ended up coaching all these guys, and this is fresh out of Colin Kaepernick had just came from the Super Bowl. Okay, so I ended up coaching and training all these guys, and next thing you know, I'm sitting here checking out how things have started to develop. I came into this thing just to be the off the field coach and the male mentor for the receivers that year. That next year, I ended up with receivers, tight ends, running backs, and quarterbacks. Not only that, but defensive guys started coming into my meetings. They started coming to my meetings because my guys were saying, "Hey, man, what did y'all do with y'all coach?" And they was like, "Man, we just went over board work, and then we just came out and did field position work." And they was like, "Man, Wilcox, talked to us about being targets, talked to us about women, talked to us about finances, talked to us." They just started bragging on what we was talking about in these meetings. So before you know it, I ended up with freaking 30, 40 different guys in my meeting rooms before workouts. I'm with the DBs, I'm with the receivers, I'm with the linebackers. The D linemen are starting to come in my room. Some of these guys play for Pittsburgh. I hate Pittsburgh, but I had to love on them a little bit, so that's what happened, and that got me to mentoring athletes. I used to feel like football was my calling to be on this earth. I said, God put me on this earth to be an NFL football player. That's my gift. And I didn't realize until after I retired that was the stepping stone to my real platform. My real platform was to be able to grab your eyes and to grab your ears and to be able to walk in a room and carry myself with a present. Football put me in a position that allowed me to grow enough to be able to walk in a room and people say, "Hey, man, who the heck is that guy? He looks like somebody important," and guys listen. It's crazy. Like, it's so weird. Like, I can go up in front of the room and say, "Hey, man, what's up? I'm Daniel Wilcox, 9-year NFL vet, Super Bowl champ." And guys look at me like, they quiet. I mean, you can hear the pin hit the ground. And I said, so maybe God really put me on this earth to mentor men. Maybe he put me on this earth. Maybe he put me in football ever since I was 5 years old to prepare me for what I'm doing. And, and like I said, I got about 400 to 500 guys that call me randomly throughout the year. Like, "Hey, coach, man, I got a question for you. Quick answer." And I'm building houses, guys. I'm building houses. I got an Airbnb company. I got a long-term rental company. I got a renovation remodeling company. My companies is just starting to pile up and pile up and pile up. It's weird. Like, you get into one thing. I just wanted to get into real estate. I buy and flip homes too. That's a whole nother company on its own, So it's really weird how things happen. And then the crazy thing about that is I still get a chance to mentor young men because I feel like every man should know how to use a power tool. I mean, ladies, you're going to get married one day and you're going to need a light bulb changed. If your husband can't change a light bulb, you're going to be the one on the step stool trying to change a light bulb. If you need something screwed in and he can't screw it in because he don't know how to use a drill, you're going to grab a drill. Man, why did I marry this guy? So I'm teaching young men every single day. I bring them on a job site with me. A lot of the guys that I coached and mentored at Georgia State. By the way, I was at Georgia State. I was a director of recruiting, director of player personnel, NFL liaison, and team mentor for Georgia State for 2 seasons. So I still got a huge connection to the University of Georgia State football. About 90% of their team I recruited. So those kids call me through COVID when the school cut their checks and they don't get the full amount of their checks. They can't pay their rent. They don't have money to eat their food. Their families are from Florida. Their families are from South Carolina, North Carolina. They're not from Georgia. And they hear by themselves, and the coaches all go to their respective places because they all live in South Carolina, North Carolina, and other places. They're not thinking about these football players. So those guys call me and say, "Hey, coach, can I come and work with you to make a couple of dollars?" Yeah, I had 10 guys on site one day, and I had another, I would go pick them up. Some of them would just drive to the sites. I have them do demolition for me. I teach them how to use drill. I teach them how to do sheetrock work, teach them how to install flooring, these trades that they can use when they're done. And to me, that's important. Like, that's important. I'm still giving back to young men and I'm still mentoring young men all while I'm doing renovations and remodeling and building houses, so I've been extremely blessed to be in the situation that I'm in.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing, man. Like, so it shows that you're really like a jack of all trades and you just like your curiosity never stops. Like, you really want to put your hands on a lot of things. And I think one thing that you said, Daniel, that was very interesting throughout your experience, that like how you adapted your discipline and your learning in football and in sports, and how you adapted all this learning and put it into like consulting and like architecture and like people management, all of that. And that just shows and proves to everyone here in this room that any kind of experience that you go through in life and you're switching careers or moving to something different, you take everything that you've learned in life and adapt it to a new career. You never really start from zero. Understand something that you always continue and you go to the next level. So if you're going from like, media to architecture, you take
Mm.
everything you've learned in media and you adapt it there based on your persona.
Absolutely.
Daniel, can you tell us really quick, like, if somebody wants to venture sports management, what are some positions that are media, creative, or marketing related that, young creatives or young professionals can look for if they want to apply to? From your experience of studying media, but also working with media personnel, what can they look for in terms of like positions, or what positions are like booming right now given COVID-19?
That's a good question, Angelo. I'm not sure exactly what positions are booming right now. Like I got put on hold for the Ravens. I'm also an NFL scout for the Ravens, but I got put on hold. I don't report to August, to Baltimore to do the scouting thing, So um, I think whatever the field is that you want, whether it's, especially if it's sports related, you got to figure out a way to volunteer or to get around or to be in that field as much as possible. Like when I first got back from App State and I started building houses, those guys called me and they came down to work out with me. 2 years later, I got a call from my high school asking me would I come and coach high school football, my alma mater, Decatur High. So I decided to go over to Decatur and basically volunteer coach. They gave me like a stipend for like $2,500 for the year to coach. I took the $2,500. Of course, I put some gas in my car with a little bit of it, but the rest of it, I bought cleats for the kids and gloves for the kids all year long. So I basically did it for free. I lost money doing that job. And I did it for 4 years. I did it 1 year at Decatur. I did it 1 year at Tucker High School. And I did it 2 years at Grady High School. Now, everybody's not in a position to do stuff for free. Okay, I get that. But one of the things I learned at broadcast boot camp through the NFL and NCAA, I went down there. They told us, hey, man, figure out what it is you want to do and do it for free. Do whatever you got to do to let people know what your work ethic is. And don't go in there and treat it like, hey, man, I'm doing this for free. Like, I'm not doing all that. Go in there like, hey, man, I'm trying to get a job and I need a recommendation from this person that I'm working with. So whatever it is your field is, there's so many different fields you can do in media. Like it's crazy. Like when I first went to college, I wanted to be behind the camera. I wanted to do like editing. I wanted to be the guy that did the NFLs and all that type of stuff. I wanted to be the guy that edited all the tape and put together these really cool, rad ass highlights. And then everybody be like, wow, that was dope. Then when I got to the NFL, all of a sudden I transitioned to being in front of the camera. And I got very comfortable. I was that kid that you asked to read high school and middle school. I was so nervous to read the dang on book out in front of the class or to stand up in front of the class and do a presentation. I'm sweating bullets, So I get to Baltimore and all of a sudden I'm in front of the camera every week, repeatedly. And then when Ray Lewis decided he didn't want to do an interview, they called me because I went to my media relations people and I said, hey, I don't care what y'all got, whatever it is that you guys got going on, I want to do it. I said, if anybody counsel, if Ed Reed counsel, I want to replace him. If Ray Lewis counsel, I want to replace him. If Terrell Suggs counsel, I want to replace him. If Jonathan Ogden counsel, I want to replace him. If Joe Flacco counsels, I want to replace him. And that's what happens. I ended up becoming a go-to guy in media in Baltimore for 5 seasons. So you prepare yourself for what it is that you want to do. And you find out exactly what job it is you want. And sometimes you got to take these stepping stones to get to where you really want to be. I wouldn't go take a job at Best Buy, if I want to, really be into the NFL marketing and media. If I'm going to go take a job and not make a lot of money, I'm going to go find the lowest tier job I can, and I'm going to apply to all 32 of those teams to figure out who's going to give me a chance. And this is a prime example right here, Angelo. When I interned with the Ravens last year in the scouting department. There was a young guy there named TJ. Now, I'm 43 years old, guys and girls, okay? 43. At 42, I was interning with the Baltimore Ravens. Intern usually means free. By the grace of God, Steve Bisciotti, the owner of the Ravens, loved me, so he paid me internship. But most people don't get paid for internships. I took an internship at 42 years old in the scouting department in Baltimore with the Ravens. Why? Because they're a first-class franchise. They're one of the best franchises I've ever been around. The owner is absolutely phenomenal. And he will talk to you like a human being. He don't treat you like you beneath him or below him or anything like that. So I picked up all these great qualities, I think, from Steve Bisciotti, but I went and interned in Baltimore. I got paid a little bit of money. It wasn't what I was used to getting paid. It's definitely not what I get paid to do what I do here in Atlanta, building houses and stuff like that. I can get a big check any day now, so going in there, willing to sacrifice, willing to go in there with college kids and be the old guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, dang, he played here, he interned here and he played here. Like, it's weird, right? But you got to be humble. You be humble, never feel like you're too good to do something. Don't let nobody disrespect you or talk down to you. Don't get me twisted. They ain't gonna talk shit to me the wrong way and treat me the wrong way. I'm gonna step up and I'm gonna take care of myself. And I'm not gonna let anybody disrespect me in any way. But don't be feeling like you too good to come down a little bit to work your way back up. And that's what the moral of the story is. You know, I was at the height. I mean, I was making 1 point something a year. You know what I'm saying? 1 point something mil a year in my last 2 seasons in the NFL. You know, so to be able to come from that height and then go and take a job at my high school for $2,500 a year. I mean, think about that. You know, then go intern with the Ravens at 42. Think about that. If I can do that, anybody can do that. Mm-hmm. Okay? Now, you have to be willing to realize what you can take and how much you can dish out and how much your body can take. My wife likes to sleep till about 1 o'clock in the afternoon if she can every day. I don't know how to sleep past 8 a.m. I really don't. You know, so I'm gonna be a little bit more hungry than the guy beside you. Most mornings I'm up by 6 a.m. and I'm doing something. I'm out the house by 7. Okay, so on my late day when I sleep in, I'm up at 8 o'clock and I'm out in the yard cutting the grass by 8:15. You feel me? Mm-hmm. So I don't have an off day. I got a million things I got to do. I still have 2 sons I got to be fathers to, and I got a wife that I got to be a husband to at some point. Okay, you know, but I still got a lot of men and a lot of men families that are counting on me to feed their families. And if I send them my butt, then we all lose. We all lose. You know, so you figure out how bad you want it. I say work your ass off while you're young and you still got a lot of energy and you're energetic, so that when you're older and you're tired, you can retire and live fat off the money that you've been able to save up and put away. Mm-hmm. You know, but be hungry enough to volunteer. Be hungry enough to get into the field that you want to get into. And what I was starting to say when I talked about the Baltimore Raven internship, there was a kid named TJ. He reached out to the general manager of the Baltimore Ravens, Eric DeCosta. He emailed him. And he emailed him. And Eric is one of those brainiac type guys. He's like if you go to his page right now, I think it's called The Mind of Eric DeCosta. He's like Pinky and the Brain. You got me? So he emailed this guy so many times that he said, who is this kid? He's really persistent. He's consistent. The NFL is all about consistency. So when you know somebody is making millions and billions of dollars and they're going to invest $100,000 in you or $200,000 in you or $1 million in you, they're looking for consistency, right? They're looking for somebody that's going to be to work every morning at 7 o'clock, never late. All right. In the NFL, our first team meeting is at 8 o'clock every morning. We got to lift weights at 6 a.m. every morning. So in the NFL, I was getting up every morning at 5 o'clock. 5:30, and I'm in there lifting weights, already dressed and ready at 6. At 7 o'clock, I'm eating breakfast. 8 o'clock, I'm already showered, dressed in my sweats and my shorts and stuff, ready for my 8 o'clock team meeting. At the end of that team meeting, we're gonna finish that team meeting in probably 15, 20 minutes, and then we're gonna go right into teams meetings. Teams is special teams. We're gonna spend another 30, 45 minutes in special team meeting, and then we're gonna break into offense and defensive meetings. And then when we finish with offense and defensive meetings, we're going to break into position meetings. All right. So that's how many meetings you got every single morning. It's like clockwork. It don't stop. As soon as we finish with that, we get a quick snack. Then we getting dressed, we getting ready, and we're going right to the freaking field for practice. All right. That's around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So we're going to practice from 1 to about 3 to 4. As soon as we finish with that, we come back in and we got position meetings to watch the practice film from when we just finished practicing. So once we finish with that, it's about 6 o'clock, 7:30 at night. All right, so I've been at work since 6 a.m. Think about that. Since 6 a.m. And somewhere along that time, if I'm injured, I got to get treatment too. So I got to get treatment once, maybe twice a day. You know, I got to go in the training room, let them do what they got to do for about an hour, and I got to get in the hot tub, the cold tub, get my body ready for practice, and all that type of stuff, get my mind right. And then at the end of the day, when I'm done at 6 or 7 p.m., 4 days a week, I go get in the hot tub or something to try to take care of my body, because my body ain't working. I can't play. I can't go make money. So you have to do things in your mind mentally to take care of yourself. You got to prepare yourself daily. The night before, you got to prepare yourself for the next day. You got to get the rest that your body needs in order to be able to go do the things you're going to do in order to be successful. It ain't going to happen if you're too tired to do it. Like my wife stays up all night. She's a night owl. She's a vampire, but then she sleeps all day. The time to make the money to me is first thing in the morning when the sun comes up. You know, so I want to be the first guy up. I want to be the last guy to sleep. That's how I work. You know, my wife may be up at 3 o'clock. I might be up at 3 o'clock with her doing invoices, doing estimates, doing drawings on my computer for my clients and show them that what their space can look like in a 3D rendering. I'm doing all this stuff. I got to learn how to use these equipment because when I went to college, hey, we were still using VCRs. Y'all don't even know what a VCR is, half of y'all. So yeah. Yeah.
I know what a VCR is. That was during my time, so yeah, I'm a '90s baby, so I know that for sure. But you know something, Daniel? I think it really your passion really shows because the one thing in common from all these things that you've done, like interning at 41, being behind the camera, in front of the camera, or doing editing work or production work, or being on the field, the one passion you've had is like being like sports in general, like the NFL in general, football in general was such much of a passion for you that any position around that, you would have excelled in it because you had one goal. You really felt like you were leading. And I think the leadership aspect of it just made you excel in anything you can do, even right now when you're consulting, with your fellow men that, you give them advice and everything. I actually wanted also to know your opinion about, I know it's a lot and this is a heavy question, but I kind of really want to see like, what is your take on it? Given your perspective and taking into consideration the Black Lives Matter movement and Kaepernick's statement, what pressure do media personnel, specifically Black and brown folks who are working in the media industries and sports, what do they face, taking into consideration that the head of the corporations are predominantly white? Like, how can they, they can't take a side, but they are with the statement and they're with the movement, but at the same time, because of the hierarchy of sports, there's a lot of white heads. How was your experience regarding that, knowing that you were on the field and this is something that relates to you as well? So how was it difficult for them, or what were the challenges in that aspect?
I'm trying to make sure I'm understanding what you're saying, Angelo. I want to make sure I'm on the same page with you here with this
I
question.
love the fact that you're calling me Angelo, by the way. That's my name for the rest of the talk. I love that. Yes. Guys, my name is Angelo right now, all
Yeah,
right?
that shit's gonna stick. Everybody call Jad Angelo for the
I love
rest of
Angelo.
the
I
6
love it.
weeks. He's
I love it.
Angelo now.
I love it.
I'm sorry, man. I give everybody nicknames.
I
So
love that. No, I love that. It's
yeah.
Angelo now.
It's a football thing, though. It's a football thing. They call me D. Will. You know what I'm saying? So
Love it.
I can't help it.
Love it. Mad respect for that.
It's part
Awesome.
of what
Mm-hmm.
So what you're asking right now, Angelo, is that like what are the things that the athletes have to deal with in the media or
the
media
athletes,
personality?
both the athletes and the people working in the media who are people of color or Black and brown, and who are facing the pressure when it comes to like promoting the good side, or not the good side, promoting the actual side which is good, but some audience take it in a bad way. So from an athlete's perspective and from a media personnel's perspective.
I think from an athlete's perspective and a media perspective, you always try to be politically correct. And it's so hard because you try not to offend nobody. You try to say the right thing, and then they try to brief us, like the media would brief us, like there's a person in every single organization that talk to us as athletes before we go on camera. Because they want you to know, they want you not to make that mistake by putting your foot in your mouth or saying the wrong thing. So they try to prep you on what you're going to say or what you're going to do before they actually ask these questions. Like I remember when the Michael Vick thing happened, and I was the go-to guy in Baltimore. So I was the guy that ended up being on every single camera. So, Chad checked me and he was like, hey, Wilcox, they're going to ask about the Michael Vick thing. Just, like we're not talking about that right now, that type of thing. I was like, no problem. And then they'll slide it in there. The media always slides in there real slick. And you have to figure out like how to be on your toes and say the right thing and not mess it up. A lot of times it's just saying that, hey man, I want to talk about football right now. That kind of takes that pressure off you. Hey, I'm just here to talk about the game. I'm not here to talk about, Michael Vick or whatever. But I've always been one of those guys that try to support my guys, and I feel like I can't just excuse it. I'm like, man, Michael Vick is one of us. Like he made a mistake, he'll do what he has to do to deal with whatever mistake. He'll take whatever punishment he has to take at this point. But at the same time, he's one of us. We're not turning our back on him. We all make mistakes. Nobody perfect in this world. If you think he's perfect, then, you're wrong. I always kind of take the high road out of things, And my wife said I got the gift of gab. I just kind of figure it out, I guess. I don't know what that means, you know. But obviously, she said I got sugar tongue too, so I guess that's how I got her, you know. So I sweet talk to the devil, you know. But on the
All
other
right,
hand,
that's a whole different discussion, right? That's like after the meeting. That's like 18. Okay, all right. I see where you're going. All right.
on the other hand, man, on the media part, because I've been on both sides of this thing. You know, you want to definitely ask the right questions, and you definitely want to keep people engaged. I think on the media side, when you're doing these interviews, you really want to be engaged. You want to treat it like it's a conversation. You know, you don't want to try to make it feel like I got this list of questions that I gotta ask. You want to listen to the person that's talking, and whatever direction he takes it into, you kind of take it into that direction and kind of roll with the punches. You know, as far as the Black Lives Matter thing, the movement that's going on right now, I think you have to get behind it. You know, I think it's long overdue. I mean, it's 450 some years of oppression, you know, of Black people in this country. And I grew up here in Atlanta, Georgia, and I've experienced racism probably since I was as young as I can remember. And I remember being broke down on the side of the road over in Decatur, Georgia, and flagging down 2 cops to help us. We was 12 years old, like maybe 10, 12 years old. And I remember we flagged them down. They pulled up behind us, and my cousin had gotten into an accident. At the time, he had a Ford Escort GT. It's like the hottest little doom buggy looking car that was out at the time. It was like a Mustang or something. You know, so he had an Escort GT, and he had gotten in an accident, and the tag he got hit in the back. So the tag was balled up and it was thrown in the back seat. So he had like a temporary tag on the back until the new tag came in. They came over to help us. We thought they was coming over to help us. Before you know it, we had guns in our faces at 12 years old. You know, it was me and 3 of my cousins, and 2 of us was 12, the other one was 14, and then my older cousin that was driving was like 21, 22. You know, so we ended up with guns in our faces. We crying on the side of the road. We thought they was gonna help us, and it just put a bad taste in our mouth. I also remember coming from the park, you know, dribbling the basketball and cops rolling up on us, jumping out the car, pulling out guns, saying we met the descriptions of somebody that just robbed somebody. I could also remember Halloween when I was like 16 or 17 years old, and I'm in a Cadillac, and I'm riding down the street with 2 girls and my cousin, and cop cars follow us down the street. We pull in front of my house, and the cops jump out, and they all got laser beams and pointed at our heads. They tell us to get out of the car, stick our hands out the window, get down on our knees, interlock your fingers on the back of your head. And then they put us in the police lineup saying that we robbed some lady at Marta Station. We didn't have nothing to do with none of that stuff. You know, I wasn't involved in anything in those situations. You know, so when we say Black Lives Matter, I think people have to start to try to really understand what it means. We're not saying that our life is more important than anybody else. We're just saying that our life matters. That's it. We're not asking for anything crazy. We're not asking you to put us in front of white people or put us in front of Chinese people or put us in front of, no. We just want you to respect us, just period. Like, acknowledge that our lives matter. You know, so I believe wholeheartedly in it. And when Cap took that knee, I was taking the knee with Cap. I was already retired by that time, but mentally in my mind, I would have been right there with him. And I understood why he was doing what he was doing. And he enlightened me on things I didn't even know. You know, I didn't know about the national anthem had a 3rd verse that was a racist verse, and it was written by a racial, like a slave owner. I didn't know that stuff. You know, I was singing the national anthem since I was a kid. But once he enlightened me on it, it kind of made me feel a different way about the national anthem. So you remove one verse and all of a sudden it's okay? No, it's still the same song. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you play 50 Cent in the club and bang it, and you and that thing jamming with 50 Cent, or you play Kodak Black. You play Kodak Black right now, everybody know who Kodak Black is. If you take one verse out of one of Kodak Black songs, is it still Kodak Black song? Yeah. You know, so it don't change anything that you remove the verse. It still has the exact same meaning. All the other words are the same. You just took out that one verse that let everybody in the world know that this really is a racial song. It was racist. The Confederate flag. I feel the exact same way about the Confederate flag. You know, I feel like, you know, people always say like Drew Brees. Take Drew Brees, for instance. You know, Drew Brees said, I won't respect anybody that kneels for the national anthem. You know, his grandfathers fought in World War I and World War II. Well, I got ancestors and grandfathers that fought in World War I and World War II too. What does that have to do with anything? You know, that doesn't stop the fact that we're still dealing with 450 years of oppression, and it still shows to this day. When I get stopped by a car, or my son gets stopped by a cop, or I'm in my car and my son gets stopped, I get stopped or whatever by a cop, it's likely that I could possibly die that day and not go home to my 2 sons and my wife. And when I look at a black man jogging down the road and 2 white guys lynching him, jumping out the car, assaulting them and shooting them and killing them, like I look at that young man and say, man, that could have been my 15-year-old. He's an athlete. He's gonna probably be in his neighborhood jogging up and down the street. And one day somebody could jump out and possibly do this to my child. And I don't know if you guys got kids, but once you become a parent, it changes your insight and the way you think about everything. Used to be the kid. I used to be the kid. My mom's like, boy, the street lights are on. Why you in the house? And she's mad. And I can understand why she was mad. But now I got 2 boys and my buddies got girls. They got girls and I feel for them, but I sit down and I look at these situations like kids are getting snatched up and they're getting missing every day. Sex trafficking is real, whether it's a guy or a girl. So coming in and like being out after the street lights come on, and when it's dark, that's when most of the bad stuff happens. And you start to see things differently when you have your own child. You can understand why your dad was an asshole or your mom was an asshole or why they treated you the way they treated you. But you can't feel it. You can't feel it if you ain't got those kids. You can't relate to it, But now I find myself saying, damn, I sound just like my mom, and it happens, man. It's a cycle, guys. I promise you so much. It's a cycle, But I always say, be true to who you are. I don't care what the interview is. I don't care what the situation is.
Absolutely.
Don't downsize yourself. Don't minimize yourself. Don't make yourself small to make somebody else comfortable. You do whatever you have to do to be who you are. Just be respectful of people and treat people the way that you want to be treated.
Thank you so much. D. Will. Is it D. Will or Will D?
Will, Angelo, I got you, baby.
I don't get it from the first time. I don't play football. I don't know. I used to be a gymnast. We don't do that stuff. Like, so anyway, thank you so much for these words. I really appreciate it. I think, these are great insights and like great inspirations given your experience, for real. I'm going to turn it to everyone for questions. I just wanted to ask you if you agree with that statement or if you agree with what I'm about to say. Do you feel like that your natural intelligence is your physical and your social intelligence? Those are dominant for you?
My natural intelligence is equal to my physical intelligence.
You think that your physical and your social intelligence are like dominant for you? Like being physically active and being good with people?
I think I want to say yeah, man. And the only reason I want to say yeah, Angelo, is because like I said, I got to the height of my career because of my athletic physical ability.
There we go. All right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, my athletic physical ability took me like leaps and bounds. I didn't exercise my brain as much as I exercised, my athletic ability. And I think you pick and choose what that is for you. Like at 5 years old, my mom got me involved with sports to keep me off the field. To keep me out of trouble and stuff like that. So she got me involved with baseball and football, and I transitioned to track and basketball and all that stuff as I got older, but I trained and trained and trained to be a good. I trained to be the best at what I do. I think each and every last one of you guys have to try to be the best at what you do. So it don't matter what you train. I had a 20-something year interview before I got my first pay in the NFL. So I interviewed for 20 years before I got a chance. I played that game for almost 32 years. Think about it. For like 30 years, I played that game. So I interviewed for like 20 years before I got the job that I really wanted. So as you think about that, you think about what it is you're willing to do 20 years before you get to be the best at it, So I exercise my physical and my personal skills probably more than anything. And I got a 9-year-old, that nerdy guy. He's not interested in sports. The kid like golf. Go figure. I don't know. Daddy can't teach him anything about golf. But he's a computer geek. Like he's into freaking like algorithms and stuff like that. And he's super sharp, man. Kid is off the charts, like brain wise. I think he got that from me, but I'm gonna let my wife have it. But it's one of those things where I think each and every last one of us is different.
Absolutely.
You take what you're really good at and you work every day to enhance that and enhance more and more. Develop.
Exactly. Absolutely. And that's what I've, been telling everyone. We did like an exercise about like their natural intelligence. And I've been, telling the GIs that like what you're naturally strong at, take it and take it to higher levels because you will excel in that field. So Tanisha and Stephen had a similar question, which is about time management. How do you manage your different businesses in a timely manner?
Man, it's crazy. Look, I had a ride along with me the other day. So I had a person that wanted to maybe invest in my company, and she wanted to ride along with me for a day. And she was like, I've never seen anybody work the way you work. And she said, you're so efficient. And it was really mind blowing to me because I didn't even know I was efficient because I don't write everything down all the time. I forget stuff because I got concussion syndrome, all that type of mess. But I forget things all the time, you know, so I have to constantly, you know, redo things, replay things over and over. And I write things down and I put things in like on Post-its and I post them all over my car, you know, and I try to make sure I remember and don't forget certain things. And I replay renovation jobs or remodeling jobs over and over and over in my head. Like 2 doors down, I'm building a house and I'm thinking about, all right, what's next? All right, next I gotta get electrical, plumbing, HVAC done. I gotta get inspections on all those things. And I'm thinking about all those things. But she came and rode around with me and I went from Atlanta to Decatur to Norcross to Lawrenceville to LaGrange, Georgia, which is like an hour and a half away from Atlanta. And I did all this stuff in one day. And I was in and out of 2 or 3 Airbnb spots that I own right now, that I'm working on right now. And I dropped off pieces of furniture. I went to one store and I shopped for all the projects in one store. Then I went to like a wholesaler and bought a bunch of more stuff that I knew I needed. And then I ended up dropping them off at one place or another. And when I came to some of my Airbnb spots, I had guests. I called them on the way. Hey man, this is Wilcox. I just let you know I'm sliding through right now. I got a couple of chairs I got to drop off, you know, 2 tables. And they were like, oh yeah, cool, no problem. I try to use that part you just asked me about, Angelo, that personal skills that I developed over my time and being able to be a people's person and talk to people. I try to treat my clients like their family. I try to treat them like I would treat my teammates, if it's a better sense. You know, if my teammates call me and ask me for something, dog, I got you. I got you. You know, when I used to be in the backfield and I had to block for Jamal Lewis. I used to look back. I'm gonna go out here and I'm gonna give my all for him. I'm gonna lay my life on the line for him. And I'm gonna give everything I can to try to give him a small crack to squeeze by me so he can get into the open field. Because I know once he gets into the open field, I'm gonna sacrifice myself because I know when he gets into the open field, it's over. Ain't nobody gonna be able to stop him. And mentally in your mind, you gotta try to figure out a way to make everything kind of equate to that. What are you willing to give up to be great? You know, like, what are you willing to give up? You know, what are you willing to give up to be great? Is it talking on the phone late at night to somebody that ain't gonna benefit you? Is it wasting time on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or whatever? You got to figure out what it is. You know, is it a guy? Is it a girl that ain't gonna help you, you know, go in the right direction? Like my goddaughter lives with me. I mentor my goddaughter as well. And she was dating one of my kids that I used to coach. And I have no idea why he wanted to date my goddaughter, probably because it's my goddaughter, you know? So they broke up. She crying and all that type of stuff. And then he was like, hey, I still love you. I made him have a conversation with her right in front of me. He was like, I still love you. If you need that internship at Emory, you know, call me, I still got you. I was like, first of all, she don't need shit from you. If she need anything from Emory, she gonna come to me. I got her. You know, so you put people in your circle that's gonna be there for you, that's gonna hold you down and they're gonna have your back. But I was able to bounce from every job site that day, 7 different job sites, with that person riding around with me. And she was entirely impressed with my time management skills. You don't have time to waste when people are counting on you. People are counting on you, you're part of a team. Once people start counting on you, they depend on you to do what you're supposed to do. They depend on you to sacrifice your body so they can squeeze that little gap in the hole, okay? So as soon as people are starting to count on you, in your business, people are gonna count on you, okay? Like this morning, I put a roof on the house. The lady called me at 7:30 this morning. I was like, I'm already en route. I'm on my way. You know, my guys was there already tearing the roof off at 7 o'clock. And I told them, I said, my guys will be there between 7 and 9 o'clock. I knew they was going to be there at 7 a.m., you know? And I said, make sure you're ready at 7 because they'll be there knocking on your door. She called me at 7:20. I said, I'm en route already. I'm on my way right now. And she was like, I was like, my guys are there? She was like, they on top of the roof tearing everything out. I said, my guys. You got to have people that you can depend on.
Of course, definitely.
If I can't depend on my guys, like, who am I as a company, right? David feeling me. I can see David feeling me. You got to be able to depend on somebody because you can't do it all by yourself. My job is to meet with the client, to come up with a design, to sell whatever we're selling to the client. Our work is so phenomenal that I really don't have to sell it. you know. But once I design it, I come up with it, and the client hires me. They don't hire my guys.
Mm-hmm.
They hires me. So just like if I was going in the interview for a head coaching job and he hired me to be the head coach.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't hire the players to be the head coach, you know? So that's how I look at it. I'm just the head coach. All
Right.
my guys are just players. I don't talk down to any of them. I treat them all with respect, and I treat them the way I would want to be treated if somebody was my boss.
Mm-hmm.
I try to keep that always in the back of my head.
Definitely.
I talk too much, Angelo. I'm sorry.
No, not at all. Don't worry, man. These are all words of wisdom. For real. Liquid gold. We're enjoying it. I just want to make sure you know everybody ask the questions. I know, Sam, you had a question? Sam?
Yeah, so first of all, thanks, Daniel, for sharing this with us and just imparting some of this wisdom. I know sports has been a really big part of my life, and so just in terms of the lessons that I've learned, helps that, you know, someone else has shared very similar experiences. My question has to do with like how you processed the future while trying to stay in the moment. So when you were on your way up, like to the top or wherever you thought you were going, did you have a vision of the future or what the future would look like? And if so, how far ahead were you looking?
Well, I'm gonna tell you two things, Sam. I think that's a phenomenal question, by the way. Two things. I'm gonna look at it like it's a season, first and foremost. If it's a football season, if I look ahead, I lose right now, right? So if I focus on the Pittsburgh Steelers, we play the following week, then I'm gonna lose to the Cincinnati Bengals this week because I'm not giving them enough attention right now. I feel extremely highly about focusing on the now, knowing where you really want to be. You know what I'm saying? But if you don't focus on what's going on in your life right now, this moment, you will not be able to give what's going on right now 100% of yourself. And Steve Bisciotti, the owner of the Ravens, he said this to me one time because all the guys wanted to invest their money into all these different things. And he looked me right in my eyes. He was like, Wilcox, why would you invest your time, your energy, and your money into anything else right now? You're a professional football player. You're in the NFL. Like, why would you waste your time focusing on anything else trying to make money? If you focus on you are your biggest investment. You guys are your biggest investments, right? If you're your biggest investment, why focus on anything else? Why give your time to something else if you're the biggest investment? If you focus on you right now, if you train your body, if you eat the right foods, if you train the right day, if you make all the sacrifices you got to make in order to be the best person you got to be, you study that playbook day and night. You wake up studying, you go to bed studying, and you know that playbook in and out, you're going to be able to play 100% faster than anybody else on that field. Why invest your time into anything else when you're your biggest investment? So if I look to the future and I'm thinking about what I'm going to do 10 years from now, I miss out on my opportunity right now, the opportunity that's right now in front of me. Okay, so I can't do that. But at the same time, I want to write down my goals. I write down my goals like every morning. Every morning I get up, I look in the mirror, and I take a dry erase marker. The dry erase marker can write on glass or mirrors. I take a dry erase markers and I write down my goals. All right, so Sam, when I was in high school, when I was in college, I knew I wanted to be an NFL player. So that last goal would be make it to the NFL. You know what I'm saying? But I'm reading my other 5 things that needs to happen right now in order for me to be that guy to get to that level. You know, outwork my teammates, be the first one at work every morning. Take care of my body. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing all these little goals that I have to do to accomplish. Once I accomplish those goals, I can erase them and I can put up the next set of goals to get me to my final goal, which is to be an NFL player. And once you get to the NFL, then what's your next goal? Do you stop right there? Hell no. You try to be a Pro Bowler. You try to lead your team in tackles. You try to be the best receiver that your team's ever had. You try to be the best leader or the best teammate that you could possibly be. So you still got those goals, and you still got to have something that you're shooting for, you know? So it's a double-ended question for me, you know? Like, I treat it like it's a season. If it's a football season, I want to make sure I'm preparing for what's going to happen right now. Give all my energy and time to that. And then the next week, I prepare for the next one. That's why I like the renovation process, because this week I could be working on a house. I got to put together a game plan for that house. All right, that's the design. That's getting all my guys scheduled to be there on time. And then that's making sure that the design comes out effectively and everything is cohesive throughout that space. All right, that's my game. When I finish that, now I'm on to the next game. Okay? And then each one of those games, I'm giving 100% of my effort and my love and my affection to it so that it comes out to be the best project that I've ever done. And I'm trying to accomplish that next one. I'm trying to make the next play. I'm trying to make the next big play. I'm trying to make somebody notice Daniel Wilcox because I'm special at something. And I have to be special at something to be great.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Daniel.
Appreciate that.
Thank you for the question, Sam. All right, Olga.
Hi, thank you so much for wonderful conversation. I'm not that familiar with the NFL because we don't have it, unfortunately, in Ukraine, but
Same thing as soccer, Olga. Same thing as soccer.
yeah, I know soccer, yeah. So my question is like, NFL is a team sport and media advertising, it's also like a kind of team sport. We're working in teams. What's the best advice you can give of how to be the best team member, teammate? Thank you.
Well, first of all, I'm going to tell you right now is to always be prepared. So like I was just telling Sam, you study that playbook, right? So whatever your playbook is in media, you study that playbook wholeheartedly so that you're always the most prepared person on your team. You want to be so good at what you do that your other members acknowledge the fact that you're that good. And not only that, but they come to you when they need something, So now all of a sudden you become the most valuable player. And once you become the most valuable player in your media group, then somebody else is going to take notice. Your boss is going to take notice. Your manager is going to take notice. Your general manager is going to take notice. All these people are going to start taking notices. And then you're going to get a chance to work yourself up throughout that regiment that you have. So set yourself up for greatness by always being prepared. And that's like, for us, that was studying the game plan in the NFL. We had to get the game plan that the coaches put together. We had to go watch a ton of freaking film. And then we had to study that game plan. We need to know what the referee's name were, what the, who their wives were. We need to know who the coaching staff was, who the players we was playing against on offense or defense. If they had a hot girlfriend, we knew they had a hot girlfriend. We knew all that stuff. We'd use it on the field to our advantage. So you have to be prepared. You really, really, really have to be prepared. I remember we played Philadelphia Eagles and Hank Baskett was dating Kendra, your girl from Hugh Hefner's house. I'm just going to leave it at that. So everybody was like, hey, man, he's dating Kendra. We all knew that. So, Hank, how's Kendra on the field? You know what I'm saying? We on the field asking Hank, how's Kendra? So, I mean, it's little things like that just kind of set you apart because you put the extra effort in. So do the extra effort. My wife actually is in television production right now. And she's up at crazy hours because she's always trying to be prepared. She's constantly running through her mind what needs to happen. All right, so when we get on site, I'm the art director. If I'm the art director, all right, what are we gonna need? What scene are we shooting? All right, this frame right here, what needs to be in the background of that frame? She has to set everything up. She has to plot on it and think about it. What's important for that frame. She got to make this space look like a real house or look like a real gymnasium or whatever they're shooting at. So she had to put all those props in the background to make it make sense. So you work extra hard, Olga, extra hard, just trying to figure out exactly what it is you're supposed to do. Know your role, do your role. Don't do nobody else's job. Do your job. And eventually other people will come to you for help with their jobs. And then before you know it, you'll be the head person.
Awesome. Thank you for the question, Olga. Thank you, Danny. I'm going to call you Danny from now on. I'm going to give you a nickname too, since it's a two-way game,
I'm good with that.
All right. So from now on, you're Danny. All right. Ernst, from when?
Hey, what's up? My bad. I'm a little sick right now, so just please bear with my voice. First off, I'm a huge football fan. I know you play with pretty great leaders like Warren Sapp, Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, guys who are very impersonable. What's the most important thing that you've learned about leadership, I guess, from your teammates or even outside of football?
I think I've taken a little bit from everybody. I think for me, the person that stops learning is the person that's already failing. So I think you have to always be humble and always be willing to learn from everybody around you. I think the thing I took most was these guys are willing to take every single thing that you do good and use it themselves, the great ones. And the ones that are not good, don't continue to learn. So you have to be willing to learn. Once you think you're the best at something, then you start to fall to the wayside because you're not prepared enough. So you can't ever think you know it all, because there's always something else to learn if you're willing to learn. So the willingness to learn, the willingness to be prepared, the willingness to give something your all is what changes your course. That's what continues, like say, iron sharpens iron. And he right, I played with Warren Sapp. I thought Warren Sapp was probably the biggest asshole I ever met in my life. But he played his ass off, and he was relentless every single play. So I learned how not to be an asshole from Sapp, because I hated how he acted. But I also learned how to be relentless from him. Then I played with Deion. Deion Sanders was like one of the most charismatic men I've ever met in my life. He was a great locker room mate, great locker room buddy, great teammate. Hell, he bought Ray Lewis some underwear. You know what I'm saying? And hung him in his locker. Stuff like that. Like, who does that? Like, you buy another man some drawers, like, hey, man, feel better. I got you. But that type of stuff, man, it's just, it's special. Then with Ray Lewis, Ray was like that guy that when the camera came on, he was made for TV. It was like action, and it was like, this guy's really passionate when the TV's on. And I appreciated the moments that he shared with the world and the energy that he gave it. And I think I really love, I think one thing I took from him is the passion that he spoke with. He would speak with so much passion. So like, even when I got in the camera, I was like, hey man, I'm telling you, like, love what you do. Like, he was passionate about the game of football. He was passionate about talking to men. And, be passionate about the things that you do. Ed Reed is probably one of the most calmest, mild-mannered guys I've ever met in my freaking life. But when the cameras came on, he was the most electric person I've ever seen, and the most electric person I've ever played with. And then I watched how he prepared. Like, he literally would watch film upon film upon film upon film. And you say, damn, he picked off another ball? Dang, he took it to the house again? It's because he's so freaking prepared. So I've never seen somebody be as prepared as him, And then I remember when I first got to the league, I was with the Jets, and I had Kevin Mawai. He was my starting center. And when I was just telling Olga about being prepared, Kevin Mawai, he used to make his own game plans. Like, who does that? I'm like, this dude, like, who got time to make a game plan? Like, the coaches is going to put together a game plan and give it to us. This dude had a game plan prepared already by the time the coaches gave us a game plan. So he had his game plan and he had the coach's game plan. But what that did was that prepared him more than everyone else. I didn't realize it until I became a coach myself, that if I actually watched the film myself and studied each part of that thing and broke it down, first down, second down, third down, and fourth down, and wrote it all down, by the time I came together with my whole game plan, I already know everything they're doing on my own. I know where the kicker lines up. I know where he put the ball at. I know how deep he gonna kick it, where he places the ball at. Like, it's so weird. Like, you find so many little intricate things if you prepare. So I learned things from everybody. Some people be like, that's brown nose and that's ass kissing or whatever, but the man was a Pro Bowl. He went to the Pro Bowl 13 times. Kevin Mawai. And now he's the NFLPA, the Players Association. He's like, hey, guy, he's like the president of NFLPA almost. It's crazy. He's like, so his preparedness back then when I was a rookie, that I was looking at like, what is he doing? I was kind of shunning him for what he was doing. Because I felt like, dude, why would you make a game plan when the coach is doing it? Nobody else is doing that. But that just lets you know he was above the curve already. He was already preparing for life after football, and now he's very successful, after he retired. A lot more successful than me, by the way. Okay?
Perfect. All right. Ali? And then one question from the audience, and we'll be good.
Okay.
Yes.
Hey, Daniel. Thank you so much for that. It's interesting because I'm currently in Baltimore as well. I love the city, but I've also seen huge systemic racism and segregation here. So I wanted to go back to that topic of Black Lives Matter and get your perspective on what companies are doing and what do you think they should be doing? And in your case specifically, what can NFL do? We've seen a lot of talk in the past, especially when this movement got big last time around, but there wasn't a lot of action, as you can see in not only recruitment but also in leadership positions. So what do you think this time around companies and in your case NFL can do to make a difference?
I think the NFL are already making strides to make it different right now, Ali. Thank you for asking, man. But I think when Roger Goodell came out and made that statement and said they was wrong, I think the first part of being a man is being able to admit that you were wrong, right? I think this is an emotional world. And I think we all have emotions on our sleeve, and I think we feel a certain way. And we feel strongly about the things that we think about. And I can tell you that just from being married. My wife feels how she feels about something. I feel the way I feel. We clash all the freaking time, but we just agree to disagree. You know, when I'm wrong, I like to be able to say, hey, babe, I'm sorry, I was wrong. I messed that up. Let's try to fix it. So I think coming out, first of all, admitting that wrong by the way they addressed the whole situation. And they basically just told us to shut up and dribble. The same thing they tell LeBron all the time. Like, hey, football is not the place for politics. You're supposed to be able to peacefully protest anyway. It's your First Amendment. I mean, it's your rights. It's your rights. What is it, Second Amendment rights? Second Amendment, peacefully protest? Which one is it? Anybody knows? First. So I'm sitting here and
the
I'm
second
listening.
one is to bear arms.
That's the one I figured it was, but we all got a little arms and got a little, little thing with that. All right, but anyway, Ali, I think the NFL is already headed in the right direction because it's 32 owners and a lot of them don't agree with what the NFL is doing right now. But one man I can tell you agree is Steve Bisciotti. He was probably one of the first ones to say, hey, man, what we're doing is wrong. We got to support these guys. He's going to stand behind his players. I think being a good owner is and being a good leader. Well, like you want to lead your guys in the right direction. You want to do what's right for all of them, not just for some of them. And at the end of the day, being racist and being ignorant to the fact is wrong. Most of racism comes from ignorance. It don't come from anything else. It's just you not knowing. Not knowing what's right, not knowing what's wrong, not educating yourself on the situation. So I think we are really headed in the right direction. I don't know how this thing is going to pan out or how it's going to end, but what we're doing today is what we should have did 200 years ago, 300 years ago. And if it has to start today in 2020, then let it start. I should be my brother's keeper. Everybody should be my brother and my sister. It shouldn't be a black thing or a white thing or anything or a Chinese thing. It shouldn't be. My wife has 5 different nationalities. I can't hate nobody.
Wait, hold on. Which ones? We gotta know. I got 3. Let me see if I can beat her to it. What are they?
She's Chinese.
Okay.
She's Jamaican.
All right.
She's Lebanese. Yeah. She's Scottish. I can't hear you, Angela. And she's Belizean.
I said Lebanese. I'm Lebanese too.
Awesome, brother. Awesome.
Listen, we be everywhere. We be everywhere. I was shouting, by the way. I don't know if anybody heard me, but it was like a big shout. It was like all the neighbors heard. So okay, all right, you can continue now. Carry on.
Hey, real quick, let me do this right quick because I think this is about to hang up. So let me get my cell phone and then continue this. Okay.
All right.
Makes sense. All right, so I'm about to log on from my cell phone right now.
All right, no problem. Anyway, we're gonna switch to the last question anyway. So do you want us to wait for you to switch, or we can ask you the question here?
Because I don't want it to hang up while I'm talking to him. My battery's about to die.
No worries, no worries. All right.
Connecting.
There's a little bit of echo though.
Yeah, you're gonna have to turn off the computer, D. Will.
There we go. All right, Danny, the last question is actually from Joanna, Cameron, and David. They're almost kind of similar, and I think it's very interesting. They would like to know, how did your communication skills and your negotiation skills come into place in your current businesses? And aside from that, what did the NFL teach you about yourself personally?
Man, that's a great question. That's a really good question. For us communications, I think my communication skills have absolutely allowed me to succeed, in every aspect of what I've done since I retired. So if you just look at all the things I've done broadcasting since I retired. I've done television. I've done radio. I did a reality show. I got married on TV with the Ravens and on a 50-yard line in Baltimore. I did coaching. I did high school coaching. I did college coaching, junior college coaching. I was a director of recruiting, director of player personnel. I've been my own owner, CEO of my own company. I had to communicate in every last one of these things, So even doing this interview that I'm doing with you guys right now, this is all my NFL background kicking in right now, just having these conversations with you guys. Mentoring men, allowing me to be able to mentor these young men and women to be able to help them go in the right direction. I have my own nonprofit foundation, the Daniel Wilcox I Will Foundation. So I do a lot of events through my foundation. I have to be organized. I have to be structured. The NFL taught me how to be organized and structured, to be able to be on time to things. 15 minutes early is on time is late. I got that from the military when I was at Georgia Military Junior College before I went to Appalachian State. So my communication skills, how I interact with people, is the same way I used to treat my teammates. Even when I was playing in the NFL, I was mentoring my teammates and didn't even know it. So it's so many things, man, that's going to carry you over from one thing to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing. And all those things are your life lessons. Those are your building blocks in life that allow you to become the person that you really are going to be. And the person that you really are, the person that you present to people every day, is because of all those little building blocks that you guys have made along your path to where you're going to be. Those are your testimonies. Those are your testimonies. I had a friend that got killed when I was in high school. He got murdered by a gang. And that changed my life forever. I had a friend that drowned when I was at Appalachian State. He was going to be in the NBA. That changed my life forever. That changed the way I approached things. That changed the way I saw things. It made me appreciate people more. It made me appreciate time more, because time is so precious and we take it for granted. That's why I always tell my clients, I say, man, look, I rest when I die. I'm trying to do as much as I can while I'm here, while I'm able to be strong and healthy. I'm still able to walk and move and lift things. I'm not 100% crippled yet, so I'm doing everything I can right now to put my best foot forward so I can protect the people that I love and people that I care about. And I try to find a way to get a workout in every day, because I feel like everything is a lifestyle. It's the way you live. It's the way you treat things and approach things. If you can figure out a way to get a workout 3 or 4 times a week within your tiny schedule, I don't care if it's doing 50 push-ups a day. I challenge my guys sometimes, just do push. Hey man, let's just do 50 push-ups together real quick, and we'll knock out 50. Even if it's segments of 5 or 10 a piece. We do those little things just to keep us honest, man, and keep us focused. Never take for granted something that you did in the past. And always continue to try to hone and sharpen those skills that you've learned along the way, because those skills, you never know when you're going to need them. Right now, I'm challenging myself to do more stuff like this, because I feel like this is what Daniel Wilcox is missing. I'm missing. I used to do motivational speaking, and I'm missing that aspect of my life. I want to be able to do more of those things. So I have to find time in my schedule, my business schedule, to do more things like this. I can't do enough of these, man, because every one of these I grow. I learn from you guys. I feed off you guys. The energy you give me, I try to give back. It's so important to do all these little things that we take for granted on a day in and day out basis. You write down your goals. That was part of my NFL thing. That was part of my journey to the NFL. I want to be able to carry all those skills. I don't want to be able to lose all those skills. I want to be able to carry those to the next thing with me. And that's what allows me to be confident enough, going into things. If you could run through a brick wall every day for 20-some years, trust me, you can do anything in this world you want to do.
Absolutely. Well, Danny, thank you so much, man. That was honestly like a really, really real talk for everyone. I think everybody got a really different and very fresh perspective on things. We really appreciate you for that, for real. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for being here. If you guys have any questions, Danny, is it okay if we share your email or something if they have questions for you? What would be the best way of contact that you prefer?
No, don't email me, because I get my emails flooded. So look.
Oh, you know what? I figured that out when you didn't know where the chat is, so I'm probably old school. So how would you prefer it? Flip phone?
Yeah, go ahead. Look, I'm gonna give you my cell phone, guys.
Okay.
Any questions, shoot me a text. Okay?
All right. So shoot it to Kenny so we can have it, and we'll share it in an appropriate manner so people don't blast off your phone. But yes, that would be great.
And let me give you my IG too. My IG is Daniel.Wilcox.
Of course, anything for clout. Everybody follow Daniel. Let's go. All right.
He's on Twitter too.
He's on Twitter too.
Thank you so much, Brother Wilcox. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule and your many businesses. All of these wonderful young people that we have on the call today, they worked really hard to be a part of this program, and they're running their own sub businesses under 100 Roses right now. They just met their clients on Monday, and they're killing it. The one thing I would like to thank you for sharing with us, and hopefully you all got this, but just to kind of bring this to a synopsis, it's how you show the fuck up. That's it.
Yeah.
It's how you show up every day. That's how you get to where Brother Wilcox is. That's how you get to where Jad is, all the professionals that are on the line. It's how you show up. It's not rocket science. It's not like, you know, the chemicals that cure cancer. It's
being
just
present,
being present
being
and
there.
showing up every day. I mean, look, we're not going to knock it out the park every day,
Mhm.
but at least you were there to play, right?
Absolutely.
So I want you all just to take that with you past the day as we move on through the program. This is week 3, and just show up for me. That's all I really ask for you guys. Once again, D. Will, I really, really appreciate you spending your time with us. Jad, if you got anything else, that's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to say
That's
what
it.
I got out of it. And that's to show up.
Thank you, Kenny. No, of
Period.
course. I mean, that's it. We can wrap it up. Speaking of showing up, I just want to tell Danny that I'm coming to ATL soon. So, am I expecting like a nice hospitality dinner with you and your wife and your kids? I know she would make some nice Lebanese ass food. So, I don't know. I'm just saying, putting it out there.
I'm not gonna even lie to you, Kenny. I hate to disappoint you. I've never had Lebanese food with my wife.
See, and now you have a reason. When I come over, there we go. Okay, we're setting up the date. Perfect. All right.
Caters to the Caribbean side of her nationality.
Well, I'm Haitian too. We can make that work, so don't worry about it. She's not the only one who's mixed. She ain't the only one who's mixed. There's a lot of us out there.
I got you, Angelo. I got you.
All right. All right. All right. Thank you so much, man. All right. You have a good one.
Thank you guys for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye.